4 months ago, I crashed my car at a drift event, and now my hood doesn't close. And after several attempts at rigging up the latch to make it work, I finally decided to just get rid of it entirely. That's where these come in. These are arrow catch hood pins that I picked up online for just under $100, and they should be just what I need to make it work. So to dive a little bit deeper into the issue, when I wrecked, basically my entire front end was damaged, and because I couldn't fix it 100%, my core support now sits slightly more crooked than it should, which causes my latch to not line up properly with the hood itself. As you can see, I actually have the latch temporarily zip tied so that it is a little bit shifted over, just so that it lines up with my hood, so that at least that part will grab, which will keep my hood closed somewhat. On top of that, my hood was also damaged slightly and also twisted, which causes it to not sit flush against the fenders, but hopefully whenever I get rid of the latch, it will allow the hood to sit lower, which would make it look somewhat more normal. So the first thing I'm going to do is get this latch out of the way so that I can set the hood all the way down and get it lined up exactly where I want it before I put the hood pins in. So luckily for me, since I already have it only zip tied up, all I have to do is cut these zip ties instead of removing all of the bolts themselves. First step done. So I got the latch off to the side, and as you can see, the hood actually sits a little bit lower, and this side over here is actually pretty much perfect, but this side over here, as I was saying earlier, since it got damaged and twisted, is now hitting my headlight. Also has this giant gap, so I'm gonna have to adjust the hinges back here and get it off the headlight before I can go ahead and start installing the hood pins, so that whenever I do close it, it will sit correctly. So I've got the hood just about as straight as it's gonna get, so now I'm gonna go ahead and open it back up and find a couple of holes that we can use for the hood pin. So I decided I'm going to use this hole right here and the same one on the other side because it's just a good fitment on the hood itself, and I actually went ahead and drilled it out because it was a little bit too small, but now it's just the right size to slide the pin in. Now what I'm going to do is take some toothpaste and put a dab on the top of the pins, so that way whenever I close the hood, it leaves the toothpaste on the hood itself, and it shows me exactly where to drill the hole so that it gets lined up perfectly. Alright, so I'm actually not going to be able to use the pre-drilled holes that are in the core support because since it is crooked, I wasn't even thinking about it. It's going to have the hood pins in two completely different spots on the hood. I went ahead and I drilled new holes in two different spots on the core support, so it does look a little wonky down here, but on the top of the hood pins should be in the same spot, so it should look good. I also already went ahead and used toothpaste, so I know where to drill my holes on each side. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is cover up the engine bay with a cover, and then I'm going to drill my pilot holes in the hood. So now that I've got the holes drilled, I went ahead and laid down some tape, and now I'm going to take the actual catcher part, line it up where I want it, and then I'm going to take a Sharpie and outline it. That way I know where exactly to cut, so I can get my angle grinder and start cutting the hole. So now that we got them outlined, there's only one thing left to do. Let's start cutting it. Now I am going to be using an angle grinder, which is kind of scary because it's such a big blade. It would be better to use a Dremel, but the Dremel I have is really crappy, so this is what we're going to be working with. So I'm just going to have to be super careful when cutting, and hopefully I don't mess up. Finished cutting the holes for the hood pins. They're not perfect, but I mean, they're gonna be covered up anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Both of them are cut, and the insides look even worse, but I had to cut open a big hole for the back plate to fit in there. I don't know how I was able to do this. I am literally an apartment complex parking lot out here with a generator and an angle grinder. I don't know how nobody came and complained to me, but I'm done cutting, so we're good. We made it. But now that we're done cutting, we have the catcher side, and we're gonna take a Sharpie and we're gonna mark all of these little holes, and then we're going to go ahead and drill the holes through for the bolt. We're gonna do that on both sides, and then we should be good to go on bolting them up. So I got the catcher sides all mounted up, and they look super nice, and they fit very well, just like that. Woo! This is gonna be sick, baby. So as you can see through this one, the hole is perfectly lined up for where the pin goes, but on this one, somehow it got misaligned. As you can see, the hole's off to the left, so I think I'm gonna have to drill a new hole for the pin on this side. So what we're gonna go ahead and do now is open up the hood and find out where those pins need to go and go ahead and bolt them up. So after a little bit of trial and error bolting in these pins, since they are in weird places, I finally got them in. Ladies and gentlemen, the hood pin install is finally complete. Let me show you guys how it opens up. With it shut and latched, it has very minimal movement, which is awesome because with the stock latch after I wrecked my car, it was completely terrible and it was barely latched in there. The fitment on this side is not perfect, but you know, it could be worse. I'm not complaining about it. I mean, drift car life. And the fitment on this side is obviously still not very good, but as I said before, my hood got damaged and twisted, so it's not gonna sit flush. I really just need to get a new hood. And to unlatch the hood, it's super easy. Just pop that one, lift it up, pop that one, lift it up. Hood opens. So it does look kind of sketch where these pins are, and that's just because I had to drill my own holes, and underneath this radiator core support is a whole bunch of crap and end up having to shave just to get the angle right. It was a pain, but it's there, it's done. This side, as you can see, had a lot of trial and error, but it's good where it's at, no longer messing with it. I am gonna go in and lay some spray paint along where all this was cut just to try to prevent some rust, but other than that, we are completely done. Same thing on this side. I'm gonna try to lay some paint. It doesn't look great, but I don't really care. I don't mind it. And then when you go to shut the hood, it's just as easy as it was to open. And they sit right down on top of the pins, and then you just latch it, and you're good to go. Now I'm gonna go ahead and clean up all my mess around here, and then I have a couple more things to do to the Z today, and then hopefully I can go get my inspection before they close, because I'm trying to get this thing road legal again so I can finally drive it around without having to worry about getting pulled over. In case you were wondering where my headlight was, it's right here, and that's because the ballast in it was bad, so I had to order a new one, which luckily just came in the mail like 20 minutes ago. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this back on the headlight and bolt the headlight back up to the car. So this is an aftermarket ballast, and it was kind of cheap, so I'm really hoping it worked. Didn't really have the money to pay for a brand new one because they're like $100, so we're gonna find out. So after putting my passenger headlight back in, my pin on this side is actually a little bit too low, so I actually am gonna have to raise it up very slightly. Try that. Beautiful. Last thing I gotta do today before the inspection, throw these babies on. These are actually new spacers from GK Tech. They are 30 mils, and I only got them because the spacers I have right now are really cheap ones from Titan Wheel Accessories, and as you can see, 2 of my lugs broke off, so I'm running on 3 lug nuts, and that's definitely not gonna pass inspection. So I went ahead and I bought some actually good wheel spacers from GK Tech to replace them. Now they are slightly smaller. These are 30 mils, those are 32, but it shouldn't make that big of a difference. So I went ahead and got both of the new spacers on the rear. So the last thing we need to do for the Z today before we go get it inspected is put the bumper back on, and we should be good. Now this is going to be a real simple process. It's just some push tabs and my quick release bands, and that's it. So I'm not going to bore you guys, but I will show you guys after it's all ready to go. And the car is finally back together, except for the side skirt, which I wanted to get done today as well, but I'm running out of time because the inspection place closes in like an hour, so I really need to head over there. But besides the side skirt, everything else is done. Finally have my headlights back on, and these hood pins are looking so sick, and I'm super excited to finally have them installed. Woo! Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like, subscribe, you know the drill, and check out this video right here if you want to see how to make some really cool DIY door cards for your drift car. Peace.